I was just going to say we will be recording the webinar today. So if you have to duck out early, or if you loved the content and want to share it with someone that you know, it will be available on the IEA website, usually by the end of the week. The same place where you registered for it is where you'll be able to find it. For those who are just joining us, I put a little bit of information in the chat box about the IEA conference coming up in Vancouver next month. We're just about like less than 30 days away from this conference, which we're super excited about. And the room blocks are expiring next week. So if you are thinking about it, now would be a good time to book. I included Patricia Tate's contact information in the chat as well. Patricia is the executive director in Vancouver and the one running the show. So please feel free to reach out to her with any questions or message me during the webinar, and I will answer them as best as I can. Okay.
Lisa, so, there's nothing in the chat. If you said you did put it in already, there's nothing there.
Oh, I did. So I wonder if I was curious about that. I put it in before people joined, so I wonder if after you join it doesn't show. So I'll copy and paste and post it again. Thanks for telling me, Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll have a link to the conference site as well. So I'll copy and paste that real quickly. Okay, but I don't want to hold up Scarlett, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our webinar speaker today. Scarlett Francesca is a comprehensive mental health therapist with a passion for the human condition. She offers vital mental health support to the Pacific Northwest, nationwide, and internationally. Scarlett has a master's degree from the California Institute of Integral Studies with a master's in psychology and a concentration in expressive art therapy, and has been a practicing therapist for over 20 years. Her areas of focus have been mental illness, addictions, depression, anger issues, anxiety, medical complexities, stress, trauma, C and PTSD, relationship challenges, sexual dysfunctions, abuse, survivors, grief and loss, and incarcerated individuals and families. So without further ado, I am going to hand the presentation over to Scarlett. Scarlett, take it away.
Thank you, Lisa, for that very warm welcome. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you for being here with me. So thank you so much for that. I do take the time to really invest my heart and soul into this topic, and it is very near and dear to my heart. I know this area can be really tough and trying to discuss and understand, so I am here to help illuminate, increase your knowledge, educate your brain, and provide tools for success. So thank you all for joining me on this topic today. So as you know, I'm going to be discussing mental health in the workplace. So how this affects the work life and home life and everything in between. So I'm going to be covering many topics today, a lot of statistics, and everything is quite vital and important. So thank you for your time for the next 60 minutes. So when it comes to wellness in the workplace, it is astounding to learn that depression and anxiety disorders cost our global economy $1 trillion a year in lost productivity. Now, this is just depression and anxiety alone. In the US, over 200 million workdays per year are lost due to depression, and over 75% of employees truly want their employers to go above and beyond to help them get the mental health support that they need. Over 12 billion working days per year are lost due to mental illness. This is a staggering number that can absolutely be affected in a positive way with the right kind of support and assistance. Without the support in our workplace, our structure that our society is built upon is going to continue to crumble and erode. As you can see, the way that mental illness, mental health, and COVID have all affected the workplace is really vital at this time in the world to really start investing in the importance of mental health. So when it comes to mental health in the workplace, 76% of workers truly want their company to be doing more to help support their mental health. 78% say that the pandemic has negatively impacted their mental health. And a staggering 85% say that their mental health are causing sleep deprivation, poor physical health, and reduced happiness at home. Unless things dramatically change, like I've said, they absolutely can with the right investment and attention, by 2030, just 8 years from now, $6 trillion per year is going to be lost in productivity due to poor mental health. This absolutely affects your bottom line for your profits and your company's success in the future. Mental health in the professional setting has been a growing concern and focus for several years. Many companies have developed a lot of wellness programs, EAP programs, and are encouraging their employees to get mental health support, but it's still not enough. And now, unfortunately, with COVID, we have entered the third year, and there does not seem to be a lot of letting up with this, unfortunately, as much as we would all love for it to disappear overnight. It does seem to be here for the time being. So we really need to figure out how to discuss ways to really support our employees during these challenging times. So during my presentation today, I'm going to be discussing some more worldwide statistics on current workplace mental health considerations, some challenges in the workplace that can create or exacerbate mental health issues, how to support employees both on and off the clock, COVID, how it has absolutely affected our home life, everything in between, knowing the signs and symptoms if your employees are struggling, and also how to help them, and how proper support can directly lead to professional productivity and increased profits for you and your business. I'm also going to be finishing with why understanding how investing in your employees' mental health will save and make you money in the future. 1 in 5 people suffer from ongoing mental health considerations. This is worldwide. For specific country, it definitely depends. In areas such as Canada, it's actually 1 in 2. In the UK, it's 1 in 4. So it definitely does depend on where you're at, but in general, 1 in 5 globally are affected. And these numbers are also not always accurate because it depends on people accurately reporting and those places where they report to share the knowledge in a way that other people are able to receive it. So you always have to take into consideration when there's statistics out there, it's always a lesser amount than the actuality of the situation. Depression and anxiety alone are costing the economy $1 trillion each year. Like I stated before, that is just depression and anxiety. And 264 million approximately suffer from depression globally. Now, depression is actually our #1 cause of disability globally. It is astounding how many cases of disability claims takes over everything else by far within these numbers. And it is amazing the difference that can actually be made with the right support structures in place. According to several mental health statistics, almost 53 million Americans are living with some form of mental illness. Over 20% of all Americans have reported having a mental illness. And over 27 million adults living with mental illness are not currently treated. And again, all of these numbers are a gross underrepresentation of these amounts. Now, when it comes to mental health in Canada, like I was saying, the numbers are quite different. Currently, there's almost 7 million Canadians currently afflicted with mental health concerns, and 1 in 2 are going to be affected by a mental illness by the age of 40. 500,000 employed Canadians are unable to work on a weekly basis due to anxiety and depression alone. And with this, it is costing the economy $60 billion US annually. When it comes to mental health in the United Kingdom, currently 8.5 million Brits, 1 in 4, are affected by a mental illness. And this is costing the economy $55 billion approximately annually. Again, these numbers absolutely cut into profits. They cut into your business's ability to thrive and survive in the short run and the long run. So some areas to be aware of when it comes to in the workplace. These statistics can be a bit troubling, but they are important to be aware of. So 9 in 10 employees report that their workplace stress affects their mental health. 3 in 5 are not receiving the adequate support from their supervisors to help manage the stress. 4 out of 5 feel emotionally drained from their work which can be an early sign of burnout. And 56% of employees spend time looking for a new position, which is up 16% in the last 4 years. 65% of employees find it difficult to concentrate on their work because of their work environment. And only 5% of employees strongly agreed that their employer provides a safe environment for employees who live with a mental illness. And over 60% of employees are not paid enough to save for an emergency. So all of these things can really have a major impact on the workforce. So we're trying to find out pain point areas within the workforce that can be adjusted to provide profits, productivity, and profitability. So as I've stated a few times, how much depression and anxiety has a huge economic impact. This is very important because these two things can show up in people either not showing up to work or still showing up to work and doing a poor job with production. So both of these things can really have an economic impact on your profits. If you have a negative working environment, this can also lead to physical mental health problems, substance abuse, both on and off the job, absenteeism, like I mentioned, and lost productivity. In addition to this, if you have inadequate health and safety policies, or you are not actually abiding by OSHA policies, or you have whistleblower programs where employees don't feel at ease to report anything that they see, that seems like it's not quite in line with your company's policies. These things are very important to be in consideration of. Also, if you have poor communication and improper management practices, communication is the number one thing that can really break down any kind of chain of command. So you really want to focus on the importance of that, understanding not only how you are communicating, but how the other person is receiving the information and processing it and able to give it back to you in the way that you are both agreeing upon what it is they're wanting to be done. Oftentimes, when employees feel that they don't have much in the role of decision making or much of a control in the area that they work within, this can often lead to dissatisfaction in the workplace, depression, anger, instability within them feeling safe and that they have a say-so in their working environment. In addition to this, having inflexible working hours, especially with COVID, sometimes children are sick, spouses are sick, you may have a death in the family, understanding people's needs regarding remote work versus in person. So trying your best to find ways to be flexible as an individual basis rather than a company-wide policy. In addition to this, if your staff has unclear tasks or disorganization with tasks they are wanting to be completed, this can often lead to breakdown, insufficient products being produced, and management conflicts. So I've talked a lot about the problems and issues that may arise. So how can we actually support them? How can we support our employees both on and off the clock? Because we want to be mindful, just because they leave work does not mean those problems then dissipate. So understanding really how to treat them as an important individual, both while they're at work and not, is very vital to their happiness and your company's profitability. So also, when you think of supporting employees, you think, is this going to cost me money? Oftentimes it can, and more than likely not, you get a major return on your investment. You're always needing to think of the ROI, the upfront cost, the long-term cost, what it may save me, what it may cost me. So for every $1 invested, you could actually see a $4 return. And I will be discussing why this is a little later on, but part of it is the productivity, people's satisfaction at work, their mental health is at a premium, and physical health is also in line with that. So those things really take a huge component when you are thinking of your cost and weighing out the difference of not investing versus investing upfront. Because like we all know, a happy and healthy workforce is a productive workforce. So like I've said, there's a few different ways to support people both on and off the clock. One of them is with a hybrid work model. Because like I've stated, We never really know what is happening with COVID. Things can change on a daily basis. You could have a family member that's fine and healthy one day and they're in the hospital the next day. So being able to still do your work and get things done, or being able to take time off and not consistently having to be at the office, but still being productive and efficient, can really be helpful for both the employee and the employer. Forbes magazine often has discussed the importance of remote working, flexible schedules, and ways to incorporate people that are both in person and remote to still work on those connections and remind people that we are a team, even if we aren't all in the same place at the same time. So some of the ways that you can do that still build the team camaraderie when people are not sharing the same workspace or the same hours, perhaps. They have talked about including wellness programs, goal setting sessions, and mindful Mondays. Some other things that you can do are being aware of the workplace environment and how it can be potentially adapted to promote better mental health for your employees. This might mean having a therapist on staff in a separate room that people could go to throughout the day. This could mean having a rest spot at work that people can go and debrief. This might mean having a rooftop garden that people can really go and enjoy some moments of zen and peace for 15 minutes in between, a stressful workday. So things of that to really consider can be really helpful. Also learning what other businesses have incorporated different mental health techniques that have worked. Instead of reinventing the wheel, really understanding who has done what, why does it work, and what doesn't work, and what do you want to try and employ for you and your employees. Also, having a culture of acceptance and open communication is vital for your company's happiness and success. And also learning how to have a better working environment so each employee feels that they are seen as an individual versus a company-wide policy where people really are seen potentially as a number instead of a human. They want to really be treated as an individual and understand that each person really matters in the company. In addition to this, you can really help your employees understand areas where they can find support. Even if you don't have a wellness program at your office, perhaps you saw a flyer somewhere or you saw something advertised online that you could potentially recommend to your employees or say, hey, I saw this, I thought, we could all take advantage of this. Or maybe you recommend it to a few specific people that have told you, hey, I'm going through this challenge, and you keep them in mind. So just always trying to be cognizant and thoughtful when you have your consideration of your employees and what they're actually going through. Also raising awareness about the reality of mental health challenges and struggles, trying to break the stigma from that and really reducing any fear for people being able to come forward and express what they are going through. And having employees being able to have formal training and education programs. These can really help illuminate the mind and learn different tactics and techniques for communication, for having your business be a healthy, flourishing, wonderful environment for everyone to enjoy. In addition, providing potential incentives for adopting wellness initiatives and promoting wellness in your benefits packages for your employees. These are all really wonderful ways that you can help benefit your employees and help them understand that their happiness, health, and well-being really does matter to you. It has been shown that workplaces that promote mental health and support are more likely to reduce absenteeism, increase productivity, and benefit from all the associated economic gains. So this screen is a little bit busy, but it's just kind of an overview of what a few different healthy mental health check-ins in the workplace could look like, such as using your messaging system efficiently so all your employees are aware of potential deadlines, different projects that may be coming up, really keeping everyone aware of what is happening within the company and making sure everyone is up to date. Making sure you implement all the resources within your company, sharing those resources with everyone and not just specific employees, because you never know how those resources are actually going to benefit them or their job or their skill sets. Making sure you include your employees in the feedback loop of here's what's going on, and then they can give you their feedback of their ideas, inspirations, concerns, give that information to you, and then that information is actually implemented in potential changes moving forward. Understanding the workplace habits of you and your staff, understanding how to motivate, understanding what needs to change or have a new implementation for a stronger potential profit margin. So you really want to understand how habits can potentially affect your bottom dollar. And time. Time is a monetarily important thing that once you invest, you can't really get time back, but you can potentially get money for it. So you really want to make sure you are investing your time properly to get back the kind of resources that you're wanting in return. So moving forward, discussing COVID-19 a bit. Now I know this is a very tender topic for many, and like I said, we all just want this to go away, but we do need to understand how to really navigate this to the best of our abilities, especially for however long it is going to be here in our planet, unfortunately. So it is almost a staggering 73% of adults that have stated that COVID-19 has affected their mental health, with unfortunately financial insecurity and lack of work-life balance as some of the main causes. Because we never know, things have become quite unpredictable in our world, and the stress of what if tomorrow, how can I, how will I, all these things can really take up a lot of residency in our mind, and this can also affect our profitability and our productivity at work. So we really need to understand how we can adapt a range of measures to support our employees to the best of our ability, whether that is to retain our employees, to prevent burnout, to prevent illness, and to make people understand they are important and they are needed within the structure of the company. Our support is needed now and needs to continue over the long term. So some of the things that we can do to help people is really making sure you support the work-life balance. Oftentimes, people are encouraged to leave their phone on when they get off of work, to continue to check their emails. Once they get off, then they have 3 to 4 hours of paperwork to be completed. Sometimes this cannot be helped depending on the kind of job you have, but it's also very important that people have time to switch off their minds, that they have time to step away from the office, step away from colleagues, and really invest into themselves, into their family, into their children, and into their own investments to make themselves and their hearts happy. We cannot be we cannot be work focused 24/7. So the more as an employer that you can really help the employee understand, yes, this is a wonderful thing. I do this too, and you have the same right. They will really feel understood and supported and happy that you understand that they deserve to be a fully functioning human being outside the walls of your business. Also addressing fears, concerns, and challenges to people, and again, offering programs to support mental health conditions. These are really helpful in having people feel important, vital, and understood with what they are going through, that it's okay to have mental health conditions and still work, still be productive, and still be a flourishing member of society. These things can absolutely happen at the same time when the right support and structure is in place. And again, creating the flexible work schedules to really help people have the work and the life that they need, being able to respect both worlds simultaneously. It's not always easy, but it can be accomplished. Another really overwhelming statistic is that over 40% of Americans have reported an increase in their mental distress because of COVID. And this also then trickles downhill to the employer, because if the employee is having a challenge and either calls out of work, quits their job, relocates, things of this nature, the employee is often left to pick up the pieces. So this can include increased absenteeism, which then will affect your productivity and your profits. This will also increase the healthcare costs. Both of these things absolutely are detrimental to your business. So say you are in your office and you want to know, like, well, what are some things that I need to look for in case somebody is struggling? Maybe they haven't come to me. So some of the signs you can tell if someone is struggling are their work habits. Did they typically used to be an excellent worker? Were they really efficient, amazing time management skills? They were very productive, but all of a sudden you're noticing poor productivity or minimal motivation. They seem to be having trouble concentrating. They're really not able to meet their quotas, or they seem to be constantly falling short of what the demands were that they used to be able to meet. These things are really important to keep in mind for potential mental health issues. Their overall demeanor, such as, are they irritable, nervous, and restless? Do they seem to be constantly fidgeting? Are they showing unusual behavior that really seems kind of out of character for them? And again, like their productivity, that they used to show up every day for work on time, no issue, and all of a sudden they are calling out sick repeatedly, or they're missing meetings, or they're having excessive tardiness. Also, fatigue and aches, lethargy, just being really not seeming to be there focused on the work. This can be associated with depression and anxiety, not necessarily, but definitely these can be components of that. And are you seeing sudden outbursts as somebody punching a wall, kicking the garbage can, hitting the coffee machine? Are these things that are really out of character for them? Do they always seem to be on edge or having a short fuse, easily ruffled feathers, especially when they aren't typically like that? These things are important to note that it's usually atypical behaviors, so behaviors that they don't normally exhibit. If somebody is like this consistently without as they were, they probably need more anger management and learning how to control their issues. But if these things are sudden, that can really be indicative of something serious and sudden also happening. And then we have on the other spectrum of social withdrawal. Did they used to be really happy and chatty around the water cooler, sharing stories at every company party, at the company birthday parties, and now they're really avoiding every social interaction, a self-imposed isolation? Now, we also have to take into consideration COVID. So some people, they really have to keep to themselves for their health and safety. So it's important to know what is selective COVID isolation and what is someone being depressed and no longer really wanting to even talk to somebody over Zoom, or they're really just kind of turning inwards and having a hard time even reaching out, opening up at all. So this is something to really be aware of, because it's often those who have the hardest time opening up and reaching out that can really need the help the most. So it's important to keep a mental note on this one specifically. So what happens if you see these things? What do you actually do without overstepping a boundary or feeling uncomfortable or bringing too much attention to someone who might feel insecure or shameful about what they're going through, or they might feel scared that their boss comes up and says, hey, I've noticed that you don't really seem to be yourself right now. What can I do to help? A lot of people might think that's the first step to getting fired, or that's the first step to getting demoted. So it's really important, if you do see these things, to let your employee know that you support them, that you care about them, and that you're here to help make a positive difference, that you're not here to demoralize, shame, or demean them. And it's important to remember that we often spend so much more time with our colleagues, with our employees, with our employers than we do our own family. So when we're able to really have a happy, healthy work life, it's imperative, because that is where the majority of our hours are spent every day. Our job satisfaction and levels of productivity definitely depend on our workplace culture the demands, the support, and our work rewards. So these things are really important to keep in mind. So like I mentioned earlier, reminding the employees about the work-life balance. Take breaks, leave work at work, unplug, do things for you that really support the ability to balance both of those and not have your life be 24/7 on the job. You can also recommend relaxation techniques such as meditation, deep breathing, exercise, and yoga. Some places actually have wellness centers at their work where they actually hire people to come in certain days of the week. Meditation from 3 to 4 or yoga from 5 to 6, whatever it is. Having little breaks throughout the day with positive things that your employees can actually take advantage of can really encourage an amazing, productive workplace with a bit of relaxation built in at the same time. And it's amazing how that can actually lend more to productivity. And encouraging self-care is very vital because, as we all know, just one night of sleep deprivation can cause absolute demolition in our life. We do not want to go without sleep. So positive sleep, positive improvements, negative sleep can really have a negative impact. Same with the poor diet or not exercising. So when you have that trifecta of all three, it's amazing how it can really be a great recipe for success. And then also, like I mentioned, either creating some kind of program at your work that either has a therapist either on call or on reserve or virtually, having different employee assistance programs, wellness events, corporate retreats, weekly team building and communication process groups, learning how to communicate, conversate with people in an appropriate manner. We are actually rarely taught these skills, but it is very helpful to remember and sometimes learn for the first time how to do these in a corporate setting. Along with having dedicated therapists such as myself, it really can create an environment for success, productivity, and profitability for your business. So oftentimes, like I've mentioned, we think of the costs. How much is this going to cost me upfront? How much could this potentially cost me in the long term? So the direct costs for the mental health treatment, such as the health insurance, the pharmacy expenses, as well as added costs of comorbidity conditions, it could truly seem expensive upfront for businesses. But the true economic burdens, which I will showcase you in just a moment, are absolutely surpassing the direct mental health costs. Because when you take into consideration the absenteeism, which is missing work because of poor mental health, the presenteeism, the lack of productivity while you are actually working due to working while ill, the turnover or churn rate, the replacement costs, work disability costs, and the premature mortality rates, this is all absolutely a devastation for your business. So something that I actually found online that could be really helpful comes from the National Safety Council. So these are just a few screenshots that I can show you kind of how to use this program so you can see, it's a free program, to see what it would cost your businesses each year in a detriment of different employees who are not getting the treatment that they need. So this program is free, like I said. It is online. You do not actually need your actual email to put in. You can put in any email. You do not need that to get the results. So what you do is you put in the number of employees that you have. You put in the state and you choose your industry. And what it will do is it shows you the exact, or not the exact, but a rough guesstimation of how much it would cost you per employee for the lost time each year, the job turnover and retraining, as you can see, 15,000, 18,000, healthcare costs, almost 12,000. And when you break that down, it shows you, the missed days due to work. So when somebody else misses those days, typically you have to have somebody else to cover those days. So you're having to have an additional expense of potentially paying your employee if they have sick time, and then paying somebody else to actually cover those days. So we also see here a turnover, an emergency room visit, and an outpatient visit. In addition to this, your mentally distressed workers will cost employers almost $3,000 extra per year than their peers. Each mentally distressed worker will cost an average of $4,700 a year in extra missed days of work, and almost $6,000 a year to turnover. So when you take all these into consideration, it is astounding how much can really take away from your profits at the end of the day. So this tells you that really investing in mental health can truly promote your productivity and increase your profits. When people leave a job, salary is not the reason that people leave. It is because they don't feel valued and appreciated. Some things that can help them feel even more valued and appreciated, like I said earlier, was having employees set their own schedules. The flexible work schedule seems to be really vital to people's happiness. And unfortunately, it can affect productivity depending on the kind of company you have and depending on the kind of employee you have. But when it's actually done effectively and efficiently, it can actually increase productivity by 30 to 60% when the employee has more autonomy over setting their schedule, and if it is either in person or at the office. So ways that, whoops, daisy, moment. Ways that we can actually help our happy employees stay happy at work and increase the productivity is by building trust with them. A way to do this is by making them feel that they can contribute to the company, that what they say and feel truly matters. It creates a feeling of value, and it helps them maximize their contribution to whatever you are trying to achieve when there can be that collaborative working kind of environment. When you're able to offer them constant feedback, this kind of feedback opens up the lines of communication between the employees and the employers, so both people feel heard and understood. Yet, this kind of feedback is only effective when it's a tool for instruction and not used to chastise or punish your employees. Another aspect is respecting your employees. This might seem simple and straightforward, but it is amazing how much employees can tend to not be respected. So when you're able to do this, it really shows that the employee feels valued, they feel important. The overall happiness in life is most related to how much you feel admired and respected by those around you. And like I mentioned, you are around your colleagues the most in your life. So being respected by those people can really have an overall happiness index achieving effect, which is perfect. We want that within our employees. And a crucial part of fostering the employee engagement is acknowledging and utilizing all of their amazing skill sets and the unique qualities that each person can actually bring to the table. And you can also provide career growth within the company. When people don't feel like they are stagnant, that they have nowhere to grow, nowhere to expand to, they can often feel, why bother? Why put in the time and energy when I really can't go anywhere within the company, when I can't truly make more of a difference or have more of a say? So when you offer programs and trainings and acknowledgement of other positions potentially open, it helps people strive and feel inspired and encouraged to go above and beyond, to really aim for something more than what they are currently doing with their career. It also communicates to the employees that they are important members of the team. And also recognizing their success. The most effective motivator of all is public recognition. So recognizing a job well done, it really helps ensure that your employees are going to stay high performing and that they feel good doing so and that they want to do that. So moving onward, we all want a successful, happy, flourishing future. And the way we achieve that is acknowledging that the more that mental health well-being is a major priority in the workforce and that employees can recognize who truly feel that way, the more we can absolutely promote an environment of positivity, productivity, and profitability. We definitely want all of these things. Some reiteration of important statistics that I really want you all to remember are that 1 in 5 are suffering with mental illness, that 2/3 don't get the treatment that they need. Some of the reasons for a lack of treatment include neglect, stigma, the cost, wait times, lack of access. And it is heartbreaking to know that 75% of people state that their workplace does not have any kind of mental health strategy to help them with depression, stress, and anxiety while at work. This number needs to be changed. It can be changed. And like I said, with the right support and structure, it absolutely can be improved. So 15% of your profits at a minimum. This can increase depending on the kind of business that you have and the amount of employees that you have. But this can easily be eaten up due to the cost of mental health considerations. Like I mentioned earlier, for every dollar you invest, you can get a $4 return for your company, but also depending on the kind of investment, the kind of, again, company you have, the amount of employees, it can actually be more like for every 100 you spend, you can often see a return of 600 because, again, of the improved health, productivity with your employees. So I wanted to briefly mention a few things that I personally do in order to support and help you, your business, friends, and family members. So things that I do, I provide consistent support to large and small companies, schools, and healthcare organizations. I provide low cost and free services to low income and underserved people while being able to utilize grants, donations, and external funding sources. So I do that. I also have a corporate therapy program. So this might look a little confusing at first, but so basically I have 3 tiers. It depends on the amount of employees that you have within your program, within your company, my apologies. And if you have above 50 employees, that can also be discussed. I just wanted to include kind of the 3 basic offerings that I have here. So this includes 1 hour per week of a therapeutic virtual session for each employee. This also includes a once monthly managerial meeting where we can discuss the business needs, the office wellness, what can and cannot be done that you are able to do for your employees within the setting, and things that I might be able to assist in virtually as well. And within the managerial meeting, nothing that is discussed between the employees and I are shared. That is 100% confidential between myself and them, unless they make any kind of self-harm reporting or an active claim where they will hurt someone else. I do have to report that to the police. So those are the only 2 times that confidentiality is broken, just so everyone is aware. So for this plan, it also includes team building activities, mindfulness meditations, and communication and conversation workshops. So as you can see, if you have 0 to 10 employees, the price would be $60 per session per employee. So if you had 10 employees, you would take that 60 times 10, that would be the weekly investment for that. So if you'd want to have a weekly session, if they'd want to do a bi-weekly session or a once monthly session, I have the prices broken down for how much it would then cost monthly. And then it changes depending on 11 to 25 employees and 26 to 50. There is a slight price breakdown or slight price reduction depending on if you have more employees. So it costs you a bit less money, since I know it can be a large investment upfront depending on how many employees you have. I'm happy to send this information to everyone so we can actually discuss this further, but I know we're limited on time together today. So I'm just doing kind of a brief overview of different things that are available. And the final program that I wanted to offer and discuss today is my once monthly, it actually doesn't have to be once a month, but that's what it's called. It's my monthly tune-in, tune-up offerings. So this means that either you and I can talk about your business life, your professional life, anything in between, and really being able to understand how to help and develop a pathway for success for you. So I offer 30, 60, and 90-minute sessions, and I'm offering a 15% discount on every session. So that would actually bring our sessions down to $50 a session, only for this, not for the corporate program. So, and this is also good for anyone in the Executive Association, the International Association, and any friends and family you might have that would also benefit from this. So again, feel free to reach out to me and I can send you this information so you're able to send this to anyone who might benefit from it. I am going to leave my resources up here because it's important to even have these sometimes in your phone. You never know who you might run into who needs this. You might never know when you might need this. So it's good to at least have a few numbers to know, if I just need somebody right now, who can I reach out to? So I'm going to leave this up on the screen for a few minutes while I open up the floor for question and answers. And I know that sometimes things can feel a little intimidating to bring up in a group setting. So feel free to ask me a hypothetical question, or, my friend Susie was wondering, or you can also send me an email, a text, and we can talk more in private as well. So those are the options for you. So I really appreciate everyone for being here and listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Scarlett. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm just going to pop my information into the chat.
Now, NAMI, the organization that I mentioned to you earlier of these young groups of young ladies, they work with NAMI. And now, where are their offices? I think there is one in Las Vegas, correct?
I believe there is. I mean, there's many offices all over. So I'm happy to send you more information if you would like specifically for the Las Vegas sector, if that would be helpful for you.
Well, they're all over, but yes, I live in Las Vegas, so that would be helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Let me just make a quick note that you are wanting that. Yes, I'm happy to do that for you.
I know the young ladies that have been working on it, they're back east, and they love the program and help with the fundraisers, and it's a great program. And these are teens. And these are teen girls that are trying to open up the conversation and not let it be so taboo, and because there's such a negative connotation about this subject. And I would like to hopefully find a way to get past that. And that might take years. It may never happen, but that's something it's important to talk about.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you saying that. And yes, keeping it away from that stigma and having it be open and easily, talked about, and the importance of, just because you can be rich, driving a Mercedes and a perfect life, and it does not mean you don't have any issues. Like mental illness is not selective. It does not choose only specific groups of people. It can affect anyone and everyone. So it's really important to understand that and help others, especially our younger ones, understand that.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Very good.
You're so welcome. And I'm just going to pop my information into the chat just so everyone has it. And feel free to ask anything else that could be helpful.
All right. Well, if nobody has any further questions for Scarlett, then we will say goodbye and thank you all for joining us today. And like I said, this recording will be available in about a week's time on the IEA website. and be on the lookout for next month's topic. Hope to see you all again.